Ambrosi was involved in the lighter bomb. You know? That's a problem always.
So
even though I agree that he should be given stiff punishment, but that doesn't mean that he is involved. No.
So you believe that the Bali bombers had no idea that there was a second bomb?
Yeah, precisely.
At their daily joint news conference last night, the Australian Federal Police and the Indonesian Police were agreed on one thing at least, as the Indonesian spokesman Brigadier General Edward Aritonang explained through an interpreter.
These two bombings in Kuta, Legian, there has not been any nuclear aspects.
Just before a nuclear device goes critical, or in other words, just before it explodes, an electromagnetic pulse is emitted. This produces an electromagnetic shockwave which overloads electrical grids and circuits in the perimeter. Australian Army officer Captain Rodney Cox was down the street at the time of the bombings. Then the power cut, all the power went out, and then probably, I'd say 2 seconds later, there was just the huge flash and I was just covered in glass.
The lights went out and the music went off for a second and everyone stopped. And the music came back on, the lights came back on. And we sort of went, that was odd.
I just basically remember convulsing, like I was being electrocuted, just shaking and shaking. I couldn't stop.
It's a noise that I'll never ever forget, ever in my lifetime. It was a sonic noise, it was a sonic boom.
All it felt like was being in a tunnel, with no hearing. After the second bang, it sounded like 100 rats racing all over the place. The sound seemed to get louder and quieter, and it was all over the place. About 5 seconds after the second bang, we heard the shattering of glass.
This most amazing bright yellow light that came flying towards me.
I was astonished. It was a startling light. Even if you had your back turned to it, you felt the shock go through, right to the center of your brain. At the same time, any area of skin that was exposed became very hot. Heat. Such burning heat.
Anyone in the open air was either vaporized or turned to carbon in an instant.
Just metres from the injured in Denpasar Hospital, Bali, more than 150 mostly completely burned bodies are lying on every surface in the white-tiled morgue. Many of the bodies and body parts are unrecognisable. Flesh has burned through to the bone. Many of the corpses are locked in poses of fear, arms in front of faces. Today, at the bottom of the ocean, lays the most important piece of evidence to the investigation. Concrete reinforcing rods, which were located more than 15 metres from the crater. Here are the reinforcing rods after the explosion. The force of the blast completely stripped the concrete. Recall that blast waves are measured by overpressure values. Overpressure values are measured in pounds per square inch, or PSI.
Blasts from airbursts where overpressure exceeds 10 psi can cause substantial damage to destroyer-type ships. Blast injuries to exposed personnel, represented by this dummy, is usually severe over 3 psi. Here it was 6 psi.
RDX